Hello, it's Brad Laurie, your BlockchainBrad, and today I'm honored to speak with none other than Maarten Henskens. He is the head of the Astar Network, more specifically the Astar Foundation, rather, and he's here today to explain all things in terms of an update for the Astar Foundation. So thank you very much, Maarten, for your time.
Thanks a lot, Brad, for inviting me to this podcast. It's been a while. I know Sota and Hoon talked with you like 2 years ago. Now it's like a new version. So looking forward to this talk with you. So thank you for the invite.
You're very welcome. And for those who are interested in transparency, I have invested in Astar in the past. And on behalf of the Polkadot Treasury, I've also been a recipient of funding as well. So this is important for you to know. And let's get into it. Let's dive deep and let's try and do an objective interview today. So Maarten, the Astar Network is really well known for its position as a parachain, for its position in Polkadot, but you lead out a very specific part of that known as the Astar Foundation. And you also have a tech background as well as a teaching background. So would you like to just start with yourself and your agenda, with your experience as in the dev space as well as the education space, particularly regarding things like hackathons, where you really started to get some interest in the space generally?
Yes. So let me just give you a little bit of my background story of how I entered the Astar Network. So as you mentioned, Brett, I joined Astar through a hackathon, and it was 3.5 years ago. There was like a hackathon from Encode Club where Polkadot was one of the main sponsors, together with other ecosystems, and there were a lot of bounties available for different kinds of upcoming parachains, because there were no parachains at that time. I looked into a lot of those bounties. I looked into a lot of those tech stacks. And one thing that caught my eye was Plasm Network. It was the old name of Astar Network, as it is now. Plasm back then had the focus on providing scalability solutions, already L2s in that area. And we were also looking towards the usage of smart contract language, mainly the language of Ink or the WebAssembly language. So this was something that really drove me and attracted me, in the sense that I have a computer science background and I always was very interested in new technologies. And I worked for another Web3 company who was focusing on provenance tracking before joining Astar Network. But they became bankrupt, and then I still was in love with the idea that they were building, and I wanted to do this on Polkadot. And I also wanted to do this with something new and innovative, and I didn't saw that at that time on EVM. So I wanted to challenge myself to something new, and that's where I met or saw Plasm bounties. I saw as well that they were missing some documentations and tutorial on how to use them, so I created them during this hackathon. And the moment I gave this to the team of Plasm back then, I got a call from Sota, the founder of Astar Network, and he offered me a position to join. So that's how I came into Astar Network. I started as an integration engineer, integration developer, later on part of Biz Dev, leading Biz Dev, and now leading the foundation. So it was a very nice journey inside Astar Network, and a very great opportunity for me to work for a blockchain that currently has like one of the leading positions in Polkadot. So
Yes, and beyond. We're going to talk about how it's moving beyond Polkadot as well, and maintaining its position and support for Polkadot. Now, one thing that I found interesting in researching you and your history was that you have the education background as well, with your primary teaching experience. And I thought that was a rare combination to see you lead out the Astar Foundation, given that you have such a strong tech interest and you have a technological background. So that puts you arguably in a unique position to lead out the Astar Foundation as you are. But I looked into a little bit more of how you moved and progressed in the blockchain domain from the hackathons beyond. And one of the things that was interesting is that through the hackathons, it seems that you then moved into, as you mentioned before, interest in parachain, specifically Plasm, which is now Astar. But you had a very strong interest in looking at solutions rather than problems. You saw technology that was arguably leading the way in innovating, that is Polkadot and the parachains, but then you saw solutions. So I wanted to ask you specifically, what kind of solutions through the hackathon and beyond did you start to try to look at and explore and solve that led you to this position where you now lead out the Astar Foundation? What kinds of things have you done to evidence and prove, I guess, your team's capacity in solving solutions for Astar?
I think this all falls a little bit back to my experience as a teacher, in the sense that I was a teacher, like you said, for a decade, it's around 12 years. And for me, being a teacher, it wasn't a primary school, so it was with children. So being a teacher was for me like one of the most enriching, but also the most challenging experience that I had of my life. In the sense that from my teacher, I always was somebody as a teacher. I was somebody who like truly listened. I was like one of a teacher. I say like, okay, you can share the knowledge. You are forming the shaping minds of those children and the future, and so on and so on. But the main key that is part of being a teacher is being like a true listener. And I'll explain later how this is connected as well with Web3 and what we are doing with Astar. And you can say like, how can you be like a real listener to children? And it's more like you have that saying, the truth comes out of a children's mouth. So children are like the most truth-telling persons that there are. They don't have any blocker for not telling. The moment you are trusted by them, they share their passion. They share the personal context that take their mind. They share like what they are struggling with. And for me, this is something that I also brought into the culture of Astar Foundation, in the sense that I'm here as well to listen, not only to what you bring to the team as a solution that you want to create or to solve, but also here to listen more about struggles and so on and so on. So, and I think Web3 and Classroom is like has a lot of similarities, in the sense that the day as a teacher is always different. Like the day yesterday will not be the same as today in the classroom, because it's a very dynamic environment. And I think Web3 and crypto is also a very dynamic environment. I mean, it changes all the time. Yesterday is not today. Tomorrow is not today as well. So, and I think this also make sure that the solutions that we are building out with Astar focus on this as well. Like having a problem today doesn't mean that it's a problem tomorrow, in the sense that we have a long-term vision, and everything that we are doing is towards that long-term vision. And the technology itself is very evolving as well. So making sure that our team is focusing on the long-term vision, and making sure that everything that we do by working together is towards this vision. And one thing as well, when I said like listening is a very key thing that I really cherish a lot, it's also with the community and with our ambassadors and with everything that we are doing. So the moment we have like a new feature available, our developers are focusing on this for, let's say, a month. So they really are day to day night looking at the code. But they missing the big picture, in the sense that the solutions that we want to bring is creating the best UI UX for people to jump into Web3, or utilizing the technology by not having the burdens of Web3 that it is with wallets, with different kinds of account schemes and so on. So all those solutions are brought to our ambassadors, who give like great feedback, where we listen to, where we improve our systems, our features, our solutions, going to the community, present this as well, get their feedback and improve it even more. And then having some kind of solution available that is ready as a proof of concept to show to other teams, other projects, enterprises as well, to see how Web3 can leverage their needs
Right.
or solve certain needs.
Sorry to interrupt, but it makes a lot of sense what you're saying. So the solution itself is built around the Web3, and we're going to explore how that's done through the Astar Foundation and Astar more generally, how that expansion is leading into multi-chain ecosystems or settings, and also multi-language. So let's move into the question of Polkadot and beyond. Now, multiple VMs, that's something you have talked about, but perhaps there are people who don't know what a VM is. Can you talk us through, in the context of solutions, in the context of the uniqueness perhaps of Astar itself, why multiple VMs or virtual machines are important, and what specifically are on offer with Astar?
Astar Network has a multi-virtual machine environment. What does this mean is that we offer an environment for people to build in. And this can be in different kind of language, but you can't have one environment that covers all languages. So you need to make sure you have machines available that can translate those languages to be used in the blockchain. So we have like an EVM environment. This is very similar to how Ethereum is going and to other ecosystems with Solidity smart contracts, where the current application everybody knows can be built in that environment. We also have like a WebAssembly smart contract environment. This is based on the Rust language. This is targeting a different kind of developers. It's targeting different kind of use cases as well, because it's not EVM. It's a new kind of environment. It's a new kind of language. But at the same time, the new kind of language can be adopted by other languages in the sense WebAssembly can be compiled from different kind of languages. If you are building with, let's say, Rust or with C++ or with any other language, that language can be compiled into WASM, and that can be translated into a smart contract, and this can be deployed on us. This will open up a new kind of doors for new kind of developers who don't want to educate themselves by learning the Solidity language or by learning the blockchain language itself, but they want to utilize the language that they already have and want to tap with this into the Web3 space. And this can be done with the WebAssembly smart contracts. Another environment that we currently will be launching next year, this is our CP EVM environment. This will be as a layer 2 on Ethereum. And this gives a new opportunity for new kind of demands that we see coming into our pipeline, because people also are very interested in those crypto native Ethereum communities, and they're also very interested in making sure that what they have built in a certain ecosystem can also be built with us without having some kind of burdens that we currently have in our parachain. Those burdens are very small, but it's an extra burden for them. So having those multiple virtual machine environments offers solutions, or we offer then solutions on the demand that we got. If you have an innovative idea, if you have some demand, we will have the environment for you, and we will have the toolings for each environment for you as well. And one of the other solutions that we will bring, or that we have created, is that all those virtual machines, they are interoperable with each other. So you can build something in one virtual machine, another module in another virtual machine, and we made it possible to connect them and make them work as a whole without the users knowing that they are tapping into different kinds of virtual machines. But it can offer different kinds of advantages like scalability or different kinds of features that are not available in that machine to be make it like a more cohesive application in different kinds of ecosystem or different kinds of virtual machines, as well as different kind of ecosystems.
I see. And in terms of value, arguably having that interoperability, that interconnectivity between, and that pluggability between those different languages, between those different VM settings, that perhaps puts the L1 nature of Astar in a different light to compared to most. Because from a developer's standpoint, I would imagine that that's quite an attractive feature. So a question I wanted to ask you, Maarten, in that context is, what about usership? What does the kind of opportunity afforded by this broad scope of languages on offer for developers translate to the user? Does it mean that there's like a likelihood of an increase in applications and thereby more experimentation and thus more users on the network? Is there a connection, do you think, in the future, especially given the moves on the Ethereum L2, as you mentioned, for 224? Do you think this is going to lead into something much broader for Astar and the Astar Foundation that leads into an uptake in more users generally?
How you put it now, I can say no, I can say yes, in the sense that I can say no in the sense that having those multi-virtual machine environments makes you, okay, a little bit special compared to others. But still, you are a general smart contract platform. How will you compete with, let's say, Solana, who's also doing WebAssembly? How would you compete with Ethereum, who is like the king of Solidity? How will you compete with those multi-virtual machine environment by getting more users or by getting more applications? This is where we focus so much on a narrative. Having those multi-virtual machines doesn't mean much. you still want to attract builders. You will attract some, but not the masses. So we focus on the narrative. Our narrative at this stage is Japan. And why Japan? It's because we have like some kind of way a dominated position there by being one of the hard fighters for Web3 regulations since Sota had this vision of Astar Network over 4 years ago. We have been constantly fighting for those regulations, constantly be on the front line with government, constantly being on the front line with getting like Web3 part of the national strategy, which we achieved, which we got at this point. Like this year, we got part of the national strategy or Web3 in a sense. And this opened up a lot of doors for enterprises or IPs or big brands to look into Web3 in the sense that they see the government is putting a lot of effort into that new area. So they feel, oh, let's jump into this as well because it's supported by the government. And that's where we come in as well. And this is where we see users coming in and applications coming in because Astar having this multi-virtual machine environment, but people will come in, see us as the gateway into the Japan market regarding Web3, crypto regulations, and so on. And having them multi-virtual machine environments available, we offer them solutions about how to build on our ecosystem and see us as, oh, we see this is very interesting. Oh, we will build on this environment, or we will build on that environment, make it interruptible, but using the narrative that we have to get them. And one of the focus that we are doing is what we are doing as well is that we are not looking in only looking into those native crypto applications that everybody currently knows who's already in Web3. I'm talking like Uniswap or talking about Aave and those kind of applications. But we are also very heavily putting a lot of efforts in talking with enterprises or brands who already have an existing user base. And by offering them the solutions by proof of concept or by offering them advisory on how to tap into this Web3 space, we can bring those already existing users into this space. But of course, like I said as well, without having the burden that Web3 brings with it as well. So this is where we are focusing on our solutions. And this is more how I see us separate us from others, not by the virtual machines, but by the narrative and leveraging the technology that we built out for them.
Yes, and I think that last point you make is key because in the context of narrative, you have a tech stack that harps all the way back from generation 1 parachains. You know, you were second in line, you launched after Akala, you and obviously the Sota team that led out the Astar initiative right from the outset. You've always been well known as a collective, as having a very robust technology and platform. And what's interesting is we keep hearing that word enterprise, which we want to explore further in the interview. But before we do, I did read a slogan or a statement that represents Astar, and that is the claim that essentially you are the frontier of innovation. In the context of Japan and even Korea, as I understand, as you know, there's interest in that country as well. How is it that you are the frontier of innovation by proof? How is it through examples that you can explain what exactly is happening at the ground with regard to enterprise or even government or any other sector in business where you can explain a bit more of what this means to be the frontier of innovation?
Okay. Well, it's a good question. Can I say this now by telling you a proof this is something like a new innovation? I would say, can't tell you now. It's more about why we are saying this. So as I mentioned before, like Web3 is now part of the national strategy of Japan, and why they put this as part of the national strategy is that they lost their position as one of the #1 position in the economic dominated world that we have now. They lost their first position. They lost it to the US. They also lost it to China, and now they're like, I believe, on 3rd place. And why they lost is that they were not the frontiers of the new technology. Why? Look at Web2, sorry. Where is Web2 located? It's all in Silicon Valley in one sense. So Google is there, Facebook is there, Amazon, all those major players, they are there. Because the US, they put heavily on Web2. And they won that industry in a sense that everything is located there. And Japan is looking for a way of finding out, okay, where can Japan conquer back that #1 position that we have? And with the new legislation that is coming as well, they really want to be #1 again in this global economy. And that's why they see a lot of future in Web3 in the sense of this will be the new innovation that will have this mass adoption. And putting heavily on this, they can become the frontiers and the #1 in this Web3 industry.
I see.
And that's where Astar feels as being the frontier of innovation by working so close with a country or a very established historical economic country by bringing this innovation to them and opening up the doors to this innovation and be the frontiers of this. That's why we see Astar Network as a frontier of this innovation.
I see. And obviously Sota, with his involvement in the enterprise sector today, having been involved with Startail, I would presume that he has a lot of connections in that industry, in the right sort of fields of government, or with the right people in government, with the right people in enterprise sectors as well. So would it be fair to say, Maarten, that already you have the first market advantage, given that originally you were one of the key parachain initiatives, you built the tech stack, you now are moving into very new and exciting developments with the Astar Foundation and Astar itself. Have you already got proof of having that advantage and having that sort of established position whereby governments are already taking Astar seriously, far beyond the narratives of crypto and into actual translatable, provable business on the blockchain?
Yes, so like you said, we have the advantage of working very closely with the government and Sota's being here the frontier. He has always been a fighter for this with the Japanese government. What we currently see, and I believe Sota is now with a group of prime ministers from the Southeast Asia, together for a couple of days to discuss about next year's, as well as making some networking. And we got invited to this as one of those people who will talk about Web3 and who will talk about the potential of what it can bring, not only to enterprises in the infrastructure kind of layer, but also into the educational part. Why is this very important? Because if Web3 becomes or will become the new technology, we need to have a new kind of wave of young people educated about this in schools, in universities, to be immediately be part of this industry as well. So I see for Astar in a way that opening or being there from the early days when Web3 was discussed in Japan and being there as one of the key players with Sota, they see Astar Network as one of the gateways, of one of the trusted parties in this circle to give them the right advice. It's very challenging, I must say. Why is it very challenging? In the sense now that we do have, it's out there in the world. Everybody knows Japan is putting a lot of effort into Web3. We see as well Avalanche tapping into Japan. We see Sui tapping into Japan. We see other ecosystems tapping into Japan, because it will be a very competitive market and there is a lot of gains being set there. And what we don't have that other big players have is, for instance, like a team of 300 people or a team of, or having like a treasury of hundreds of millions. No, what we have is maybe something special, is that we do have Sota Watanabe, we do have the knowledge of talking with Japanese enterprises, because it's not, Japanese culture is very different from all other cultures in the world. Talking with enterprises is a different kind of language than talking day to day with somebody in Japan. You need to have those skills in that team, and we have those skills. So that makes us more advanced when talking with those enterprises, because they trust us, because they see us with talking with the prime minister. They see us talking with the legal people inside the Japanese government. So this trust is more important than having 100 people on the ground or having a lot of funds. They really value trust over, and that's why Japan is also so difficult to talk with. But then again, very open now in the sense that Startail is talking with Sony for the blockchain launch as well. So knowing that Sony is a very conservative company, but now they are like really pushing this, and they will be like hopefully one of the frontiers in Web3 as well by showing what's possible as one of the leading companies in the world.
Right. And for those who may not know, Sota, the founder of Astar, is actually leading Startail currently, and that's the enterprise sector that's attracted the integration and collaboration with Sony. One of the things I want to touch on later is other kinds of names and brands that may be emerging. You already alluded to things that perhaps we don't know that you do, or Sota with regard to other brands and names that might be coming forth to collaborate with Astar. But clearly, from what you said, is that Astar has the advantage of the narrative of the time it's built thus far, and also the key ingredient with Sota and his genuine experience, his own culture he brings to the fore with his connection with Japan, and bringing business knowledge, the narrative, the reputation required to build out enterprise. That's been fundamental, arguably, throughout the process of Astar. So congratulations to all of you thus far in how much you've achieved. I can only imagine what you're going to achieve in 2024. But let's try to separate the two things of Astar and Astar Foundation, Maarten, because you are the head of Astar Foundation, and many may be wondering, what is the difference? So in a nutshell, could you tell us what exactly is the difference between Astar, the network, and Astar, the foundation?
So Astar Network is a product. So Astar Network is the product of having that L1, L2 parachain and everything that is related to a tech stack. And then we have two entities who will be working on this product, Astar Network. We will have the foundation, who is in charge of the assets, who's in charge of the maintenance, who's in charge of all the uplifting, of all the new features, of all the development work that needs to go into the Astar Network to meet the demand of the people or the projects we are talking with as well. We also have our Biz Dev department and our marketing department in this foundation. Another entity is Starter Labs, where Sota is leading as CEO, and they are focusing on also on Astar Network in the sense that they will create the enterprise solutions that are needed. Their mission is bring billions to Web3 in the sense that, like I said as well before, talking with enterprises, talking with products, with brands who already have like an established user base, bring them to Web3 with the tooling that they will create or with the features that they will create as well. So they heavily focusing on building out toolings, building out infrastructure on top of Astar Network to get that billions in. So Astar Foundation, Starter Labs, we all work on the product Astar Network. Astar Network consists out of our L1 parachain as well as our ZK-EVM L2 on Ethereum.
Right. So in terms of revenue, let's get real, because the word enterprise keeps coming up in the conversation, not just with myself, with other interviews you've done. And clearly Sota is focused on that now that he's got a key role in Startail as well. So how does the revenue model, the enterprise model, affect someone like yourself? Obviously, the public blockchain is paramount to you in building out your work, your endeavor with the tech side of Astar in its foundation state, but no doubt Astar itself wants to make money. So how do you align the interest of the public blockchain, making sure the mechanics of that are working, making sure that's building out, but also making sure that there's enterprise runway for the enterprise sector that's built into the architecture of Astar?
So how we describe it is the following. So Astar Foundation is a non-profit organization. It will not generate any revenue. Everything that we are doing is regarding tokenomics, making sure the treasury is used well, making sure that there is like a governance in place, making sure that there is no whatsoever something that can go wrong regarding our tokenomics. Astar Foundation itself has like a revenue still of over 2 years to work further. And we see Starter Labs this will be the profit organization of our group, in the sense that they get advisory fees. They create the toolings that will be used by those enterprises. Let's say they create like RPC cloud services, they connect their services to an enterprise, they pay them for the usage of that of their toolings, and this will be a revenue stream coming in. One thing that we are also doing is, for instance, we got like as well a capital alignment with Sony with Starter Labs, where they also will pay Starter Labs for their advisory around tokenomics regarding architecture of the infrastructure and so on. This will be the revenue source of the whole group, while Astar Foundation will be the non-profit organization of focusing on the tokenomic sides and all those kind of things.
It makes a lot of sense, and congratulations thus far with regard to Treasury funding. My understanding is you've been successful with that support, and you've explained being a non-profit that that would make a lot of sense. Do you ever collaborate with Sota in discussions, for example, of the overall growth, for example, of Astar in the context of enterprise? And do you have any comment or any involvement in the enterprise sector, even though you lead out the non-for-profit as the head of the Astar Foundation?
Regarding the enterprises in Japan, I'm not involved there. Why is this? Is something that I mentioned before. It is a complete different culture. One, I don't speak Japanese, so I can't bring any value to any conversation there. I also don't have the knowledge of talking with enterprises in Japan. What I do have is the knowledge of talking with enterprises in a more global market that want to tap into the Japanese market. So we see ourselves as a gateway. So I talk with enterprises on that side and bringing them into the connection of the Japanese market. That's mainly what I do when I'm talking with enterprises. I forgot the second part of your question.
Oh, it was just with regard to the overlap. So obviously Sota's invested in building out the enterprise, and I was just trying to explore your role and how you may, liaise in that context. And you're explaining that you do. And I was wondering, given your position, especially being from Europe, whether or not there might be a possibility for expansion, beyond Japan and Korea, which we'll talk about in the interview.
Now I got the first part. You talk about the collaboration with Sota and me. We talk constantly. Sota is still heavily involved in the Astar Foundation. He still shares ideas, strategies. My job is to bring both strategies together from Starter Labs as well as the Astar Foundation, making sure we offer the toolings, offer the infrastructure for them to build further on. We are in constant talk. So the company itself, Starter Labs and the foundation, everybody is like internally is able to see the conversations happening on both sides. So we are very open and everybody knows what everybody is doing, but everybody has their particular focus area to focus on.
Makes a lot of sense.
So we are working very hard together, yes.
And clearly you're a curator in your own light with regard to being a gatekeeper for the foundation and maintaining the integrity of the tech, and even, as you mentioned before, overseeing many aspects of the foundation. I would imagine that's also part of the education and marketing, a part of that. Would that be correct?
Yes, I would say I've been an Astar Network for over 3.5 years now. So I'm very familiar with all the projects we have talked with over the last 3 years. I'm very familiar with the technology that we have built because of my technical background as well. So I can talk about most things to most people, about everything related to Astar Network. So and having this educational background as well, I'm also able to translate this in a very common way of talking with people who are not familiar with Web3 or not familiar with our tech stack. So as a gatekeeper, I make sure that there is like the perfect balance between what we are doing and make sure this balance is in balance and not like some kind of disrupted in some kind of way. So keeping this balance is very much needed. Yeah.
I see. It's also making me wonder whether or not you may be a key sort of means to engage with Europe and beyond. with regard to the potential of the enterprise sector in the future because of your own tech knowledge, with your own experience working with Sota for so long now? Because right now we see the conversation and the narrative built around Japan and Asia as the expansion to Korea moves forward. But I wonder in the future, Maarten, whether or not you're going to be an integral party and person involved in the global growth of the enterprise sector of Astar.
That's our long-term goal that we want to achieve. We want to be like a global company as well. We want to be as well established in the US as well in Europe. But having it all at this time is not possible. So I'm really pushing a lot from my side, as well as Sota's pushing a lot. Let's first build out the products and proof of concept in Japan, in Korea, in the geographical areas that we are very strong in, and sell this to the global world of how it is being successful in this area. And the moment we are able to sell this to the global world, we can look into the long-term vision of expanding to other areas as well. So it's part of our strategy, it's part of our global goals that we have set, but it will be a long-term goal. It will take multiple years to achieve this, but it's part of our strategy.
Well, it's great to hear the roadmap is so long as well, and that you have key deliverables that you want to achieve in that region. So let's start on that note with regard to the statement of you're all in on Japan and that national strategy that you're alluding to with regard to enterprise, universities, business, and the green list, that you've referenced as well in Japan. It's not easy to get on that list, and you certainly are. So how far ahead are you in the game, in the Web3 game in Japan and in Korea with regard to the progress in those areas? Or in those sectors of enterprise, university, education, business, and in the context of the national strategy?
I must say we are heavily, we really have our foot in the game, in the sense that we are not there only with the Brad Astar Network and being the frontiers in Web3 in Japan, but we look also much further than this, in the sense that building out our L2 or Ethereum, this is something that we are not doing by ourselves. We are doing this with Polygon Labs, for instance. We are working with them. Why we are working with Polygon Labs is because they see us as, okay, you guys are being the frontiers in Japan. We also want to tap into that market, but we don't have the knowledge. We don't have this experience of Japan. So let's work together on getting much more traction into the blockchain. We are all in for the adoption of the blockchain technology. We are not here to be like an isolated blockchain and be like only us. No, we are here more about adopting the Web3 in general. With Astar Network technology, or what we built out on our substrate framework, but also what Polygon Labs has built out on the ZK narrative side as well, bringing that together, offering those kind of solutions. And this offers a much wider knowledge that can be shared with students, cities, and so on and so on. So we work very closely, not only with the government of Japan, but we work also very closely with established cities inside of Japan who have like well-established universities, and how that city can become as well a hub for Web3 knowledge in those universities as well. So we are working on multiple fields in the Japan area, and that makes us a little bit different compared to, let's say, Avalanche is stepping into Japan. They do not have the connections with the mayors. They do not have the connections with the universities. We do have those connections because we have been talking with them for more than a couple of years now. And because being part of this national strategy, well, actually Sota was present the moment this was drafted and was signed. He was there, so he was seen as the face for Web3 in that area. So this gives us a lot of opportunities and a lot of knowledge, and I think this makes us, I would say, frontiers in Japan and being that number one. But it
Right.
will be challenging in the upcoming years, but we are ready to
Yes.
fight this.
And the devotees of Polkadot, obviously, some of them were concerned, and there was some controversy when we saw the announcement of Polygon, the integration or the partnership there with Astar. But you've mentioned something important, that is that obviously Sota has the connections in Japan, he has the network, he has the leverage in that sense, but he's also known Sandeep from Polygon for many years, even when it was known as Matic. So what's the reciprocal benefit for Polygon and Astar in that sense? You've already explained that Polygon stands to be quite advantaged from the network that Sota has available in the Asian context of Japan and even arguably Korea. So how does it benefit Astar in that collaboration? What do they get out of that Polygon into collaboration and partnership?
First, I want to say like the collaboration with Polygon is not more regarding the tech stack itself, but it's also about how Polygon itself looks at the growth or at the adoption of Web3. That makes us as well so attracted to them. Like me and Sota, we went as well to Dubai to meet Sandeep, to meet the Polygon headquarters in Dubai. And I think everybody here in Web3 would think like this will be like a massive office, nice fancy things. We went to that office. It was just a bunch of tables and chairs. A lot of people were just focusing and working. The office of Sandeep was just a small office. They were very down to earth. And this really attracted me because we are also very humble, down to earth. We do have also an office in Singapore, but it's like a room, a bedroom size room where 6 people are working. It's not like a fancy office. So we are in here to much more than just presenting ourselves as being fancy or things like that. We are here for this adoption. And this really made us feel like much more comfortable by working with Polygon because they have the same culture or the same feeling towards Web3. What is the advantage of working with Polygon? Like I said before, is that Polygon Labs is also looking for working with partners that can help them get that tech stack as well more adopted. In a sense, they are working with us. They know they see the importance of Japan. They see, okay, let's collaborate together with Astar Network on dominating Japan together. In a sense, if we got a lead in who wants to tap into Japan, they say, we have Astar CK EVM. They can give you all the advice, all the toolings are similar what we have, but they are there to help you get into Japan. We from Polygon, we don't have this expertise, but Astar Network has. So this will be funneled into Astar Network.
I see. So that
and
should
this
also,
is the leverage that we can get.
Sorry to interrupt, but that should also facilitate the acceleration of the adoption, given the broad scope of Polygon. They have significant funding, they have a significant team behind them. So that surely could only facilitate the uptake of Astar in the Japanese context and even beyond, as we're alluding to with Korea.
It's all somehow connected as well. Like for Polygon Labs is also working very hard with Immutable. Why we're working very hard with Immutable is because they know so much about gaming, so much. Why would Polygon create like an own gaming team when they can work with an already established team that knows a lot about gaming? So for them, working with Immutable makes sense. For working with Astar makes sense. And at the same time, we also talk with Immutable to see how our technology, their technology can be combined and leverage each other and grow the adoption. It's not about, like I said before, making sure that what we have built out be saying like, oh, you have to come to us, you have to come to us. It's more about come to us, but we also are working with Polygon Labs. You can tap into that liquidity with the upcoming LXLY bridge, unified bridge. You can tap into the Immutable gaming space as well, because they are also attached to the unified LXLY bridge. So you can tap into that ecosystem as well. At the same time, you also have Astar L1, where you can tap into different kind of markets as well, with killed with the DID. You can tap into other spaces that are there. So offering this interoperability with so many ecosystems, so many use cases out there makes it so attractive. It's more about, it's not about how do I say it? It's we see us more as how would you go to Azure or AWS regarding plug and play for creating your application. We see this as well with us. And we do this with partners that we have in Japan by offering different kinds of solutions.
Right. And it makes sense what you're saying. It's strengthening by collaboration. And also expanding the possibility of Astar even into gaming, as you were mentioning with Immutable. So in that sense, is it possible that different sectors, different potentials, and different ways of using Astar technology will develop in specific areas, given that these collaborations are likely to continue, and you're liaising with these parties like Immutable? So are we likely to see in the future some sort of announcements of, for example, collaboration in the gaming sector that's more clear, that's more defined and more strategic?
Yes, absolutely. So our focus that we are currently doing as well with 2024 is focusing on the entertainment industry in Japan. So you can definitely see upcoming very exciting projects or collaborations coming in 2024. We already have closed great deals, great projects. Of course, it's still up to us to prove them and make sure they will be successful. But I'm very confident in what we will bring in this space as well with Astar Network and the deals that we have lined up.
Maarten, can I just jump in there?
Me...
I just want to dig. You probably know me. I like to just try and elicit as much as I can from you, even when you don't want to disclose. So how much is going on behind the scenes with regard to mainstream brands, or in the gaming sector, or any of those sort of enterprise sectors where they're well known, outside of the scope of blockchain and crypto, that you're bringing into the Astar conversation? Clearly, there's discussions being had about forging more partnerships. So what can you tell us without having to break NDAs or without kind of jumping the gun?
Yeah, so I will say a little bit about what we already has been released. So one thing is that we have worked together, or still working together, with Toyota. We did like a hackathon together regarding DAO infrastructure inside their enterprise. The recent hackathon that we did was with Mazda, who we also had like a great winner who was focusing on a drive to earn together with them. Like it was a great hackathon with over 250 projects applied to this hackathon with Mazda. We have this capital alignment and the announcement with Starter Labs with Sony. We also have the entity Docomo, where we are working on proof of concept at this stage. Entity Docomo is one of the largest telecom companies in Japan. Recently, we announced that we are part of the KDDI integration in their wallet. KDDI is the second largest telecom company in Japan, who now has built in a Web3 wallet in their solutions as offers to their users. Astar itself is also connected into this, making sure that then people who want to tap into Web3 to KDDI as a large user base can slowly get more familiar with Web3. Those are already major enterprises, major brands who already we are working with and already being announced. The upcoming announcement that we will be giving out will be a lot focusing on the entertainment industry. And
are there going to be names? Sorry to interrupt, but are there going to be names that we're familiar with?
Yes, yes, and they will be names of familiar with. I would say it depends on your personal interest, of course. If you are not a manga reader, you will not know them, for instance.
Right. But well known in Japan, clearly. These are obviously mainstream or well-known partners that are going to uplift, the success of Astar, through these collaborations. So yeah, please go on. Right. I mean, it's exciting to hear that these are well known in Japan for a start, and they're high-level partnerships. They're not, and they must have taken some time to forge.
It takes a really long time to forge them, and it really takes a lot of effort from our team in Japan to first of all get them excited about this, and also get them like ready to jump in as well. So for the upcoming releases, we are talking with some well-known tier 1 brands in Japan and people who are interested in that area or have understanding there. But we also have, I'm not going to say too much, but we also have one that is very known in the global world. I think we couple of days ago, we released a teaser for our upcoming mainnet launch on the Zk EVM. It's like a campaign that we will be doing. You can compare it similar with on Base Summer, how Base did it with getting traction to the L1. Us will be similar, but focused on Japan and focusing on things happening there. But we also have partners lined up that everyone will know.
Well, can I ask you,
already
Maarten,
see.
Can I ask you just to jump in, is that we saw the major announcement with Sony in the context of Startar with the enterprise sector. And that was a major announcement. Everyone arguably knows about Sony globally, a major Japanese brand that's, really led out technology for many decades, actually. So is it something as big as Sony? Can we expect brands like that? Obviously, Sony is well known in Japan. You're talking about global brands that are far-reaching, far beyond Japan itself. But are they as big, or if not bigger, than Sony?
It's difficult to say, because it also depends how you look at Sony. How do you know Sony? Is it because you know PlayStation, or is it because you have like a screen that is from Sony? How do you know Sony, and what kind of way does it have an impact on you knowing this brand?
Well,
let's similar what
maybe
yeah,
business performance, because obviously their books speak for themselves. They're just so successful. So perhaps in that context, are we talking about globally successful brands that are really going to bring Astar to the fore in the context of enterprise and business globally through this?
I would say globally respected IPs.
Right. Okay. I'm sorry to dig so much. It's just that this is exciting information. I don't mean to FOMO, but perhaps I do. Perhaps that's my job, is to try to elicit as much as I can in the time we have together speaking. But let's pull it back a little bit to resources for the Astar Foundation, because we need to talk about your role and what you do with your team. Now, your objective clearly is to expand the resources available via the foundation, and you do so by things like grants, partners, community activities that you're very much engaged in, hiring more devs. Clearly, that's your agenda with your own experience, and even project support. So can you tell us a little bit more about the daily operations of the foundation, what you kind of do as a team in order to build these resources at the grassroots? What does it look like being in the office, for example, or in this workspace of the foundation?
Well, for me, it's I'm a little bit everywhere, in the sense that we have a team. It's now around 60 people if you have the whole group. So we have a team that is heavily focusing on DevOps, on the infrastructure, that I follow daily as well, because it's so important to know the infrastructure, that makes sure that everything's up and running. And we have our UI team, which are also heavily involved, because this is the gateway from new users coming in. And then, of course, we have our growth department, consists out of the biz dev, the dev files, and so on. I try to be as much involved there, but I try to shift away from having those, how do I say, conversations every day in Telegram with, let's say, tier 3, tier 4 projects. I try to get away from that part, because it takes a lot of my time. So I'm more having the overview, making sure everything is glued together. If I know what that team is focusing on, and that team is focused, I can make sure that everything is like scheduled right, make sure everything is delivered in time, everything is like step by step in the right order. I do not do this on my own. We have like a great PM, Ivan, who is helping me with this. Our new CTO, Sean, who's helping me as well with this. Our COO, Shun, is helping a lot of things as well for the operational side. So we have a great executive team who is making sure that the whole team is glued together and everything is aligned. So my day-to-day operations usually starts, because I live in Europe, usually starts with following up with the Asian team. That's first thing. Knowing what's going on, about how was the day in Japan, or how was the day in Asia. Getting then working together with our developers during the day, and with our biz dev during the day, who are located in Europe as well as Asia. And then my end of the day is then focusing with our US team, our marketing team as well, the DevRel team who's based in the US, giving them the latest updates and getting them as well up and running what has been happening the last 24 hours. Like I said as well, like before, every day is different than the last day. So you need to be up to speed with everything. And that's my main role, making sure I'm up to date with everything that's going on.
It's quite a dynamic, ever-changing role, I would say, as well, given the nature, especially now as we see quite a lot of interest in market changes in the crypto space as well. But with regard to things like products and services, new developments, we see, for example, very recent announcements of the MetaMask Snap. We also see the mainnet release of the ZK, of the Astar ZK EVM as well coming forth. So can you tell us a bit more about some of the new things that are emerging that you're excited about, whether they be products, whether they be services, whether they be tech releases, as we alluded to? What excites you about moving forward that's new?
So we recently announced the MetaMask Snaps. This is a great new technical feature for those who are building in the WebAssembly smart contract environment. At that time, by using MetaMask Snaps, you can give a very familiar Web3 wallet working in that environment. Before it was a different kind of wallet, and this has some kind of entry barrier for new project, telling them you need to have a new wallet. You can't use your favorite one. You have to use a new one. But MetaMask Snaps, we limit this entry barrier. Upcoming new features is our account unification. This has just come out of audit. This is done and will be implemented very soon. The account unification is also for our parachain. As I mentioned, we have multiple virtual machine, and the blocker by having multiple virtual machine is you also have two different kind of account schemes, meaning you have like this H160 address, like you are familiar with Ethereum, right, and you also have like an SS58 address, like you have on Polkadot. With our account unification, you can have one account that holds both schemes. You can transfer them between, you can transfer from that one scheme to another scheme in that wallet. Everything will come together. You don't need to have the burden of having two different kind of wallet. Everything will be in one unified account. Another upcoming release is our implementation of our new tokenomics. We already added one part, that's the fee alignment. Upcoming release will be dynamic inflation, or the hybrid inflation. And the next upcoming release in January, it will be our debt staking version 3. Our debt staking version 3 is a mechanism where people can stake on project that they support. The project will get funding through the inflation, and you as a stake will also get a regular staking rewards as well. So this is also coming. This excites me a lot because this third generation of debt staking is we learned a lot from the previous one, and this will be completely renewed, making it more fair, making it more transparent, making it more gamified in a way for our stakers as well to be involved in our network. Very excited about this. Very excited about the upcoming mainnet launch that we are planning, and also very excited about upcoming announcements for the next couple of weeks. So keep your eye on this as well. I'm sorry I can't talk about it today, but
there's a lot going on, and I wish we could disclose more of this, but clearly you need to stick with those NDAs and disclose them in due time and due course. But there is a lot coming clearly in Q1 of 2024, I would imagine, for Astar. Very busy times for you all. But I did want to also pull back a bit to the discussion of Polkadot itself, because there's been this misunderstanding, I think, out in the crypto domain, particularly those who've been following along with Astar in the context of Polkadot for many years in the past, that you're moving beyond it. And I've heard you discuss this before. Simply not true, a fallacy of the truest kind. But can you tell us a bit more specifically of the Astar Polkadot roadmap? Because obviously that's something that is built into the plan of the future, 2024 and beyond, not just with other ecosystems, not with just other chains of technologies, but things like, for example, the Inc Hub, Phala, incubators, Nova and Talisman as key and leading wallet technologies, future dApps, Bifrost as a key platform that's going to be engaging and working and partnering with you more and more, I'd imagine, in the future. All these are built into the plan. So do you want to just touch on exactly how Polkadot's still in the conversation technologically, and also in terms of the narrative itself moving forward.
Polkadot is still with heavily on our wave course. Not only because our asset is on Polkadot, but also because we are still using its technology very heavily in the upcoming years. There will be, I'll say it again, there will be an announcement coming next week or the week after. I'm not so sure when this will be on YouTube, but this will show that we still have a lot of trust in the framework that Substrate is. It will be very clear in the upcoming weeks.
Tell us more. Tell us
have
more, Maarten. Come on, tell us a bit more. What's coming?
Let me say, I'm not going to say, but we also have like an inside the Astar Foundation. We have a team that is focusing only on Substrate and Polkadot, a team that is not included in what we are doing in L2, but only includes what's happening on Polkadot, making sure up to date. Like you mentioned, Talisman. We are working very closely with Talisman now to onboard them into the Korean market. They will soon have like an event in Korea, a community event. They're focusing a lot on getting their wallet as well, much more known in Korea. We are helping and supporting them for them. Similar as well with Biford, as you mentioned, we have deep discussions with them for upcoming plans regarding VDOT and so on, and as well VStar that is also coming out very soon. So we have huge plans there. Our team is heavily focusing as well on the Ink side of things, meaning the Ink language.
Yes.
Like you said as well, the incubator. This will be merged with the Ink Hub that we did together with Fala as well as with I forgot the name now. But other teams working on this together, where we have like a very good side of projects working together on improving the Ink side of inside of Polkadot. Got approved by Treasury as well. We are currently with the Treasury the funding that we got from the Treasury. We already implement like I think like 60% of what was described in the milestones. Things are going really well there. We see a lot of traction as well from smaller developer communities looking into this. So very excited about this. But regarding Polkadot, we have it in our roadmap. We have it in our timeline. We are still heavily trusting the framework that is built on with the XCM, with the upcoming core time as well, and the async backing. A lot of exciting things are happening there, and it would be a shame not to follow them and not to use them. So
Absolutely.
We will be there as well to follow up with the latest trends.
Right. And that's great to know, because in the context of OpenGov, we've seen that emerge as a very key platform for funding. And you're certainly, and as an entity that is Astar, you are successful in, as I understand, in getting some funding to continue in different endeavors as you move forward. And that arguably will continue because there is that strong support from those primary stakeholders and key voters within that system of OpenGov. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Treasury responds to more funding requests in different areas. Do you anticipate more submissions, more applications, more proposals in different areas for Astar in 2024?
Yes, we will. But as I mentioned before, when we want to do like a proposal for the Treasury on Polkadot, we will not do this to only focus on Astar Network, but working with partners to create like a common and something that will benefit not only us, but the whole ecosystem or part of the ecosystem. This makes more sense for us than just focusing on Astar itself. We have great initiatives where we are part of. You have that let's just go what it's called, but it's Alliance to do audits inside a Polkadot ecosystem. We are part of this as well, where we help support new teams or new parachains for the audit costs. We are supporting projects who are looking into the Ink language and supporting them with funding from the Treasury that we got. So everything that we are using the Treasury funds for, it's for the common good of Polkadot and for the common good of getting this technology more used as well.
Well, that's exciting. And even moving across to the developments in enterprise, you've already mentioned that the Astar Foundation, which you head, is also working directly and indirectly with Sota and his work in Star Labs with the enterprise focus there. But I wanted to push that to a discussion perhaps beyond that in the setting of Korea, because we don't really know that much. I don't think the public are aware of how much behind the scenes is going on in terms of discussion, in terms of initiatives, in terms of planning, that is expanding the narrative and the work that beyond Japan into Korea, very specific when it comes to expansion of partners and expansion of enterprise itself. So what's happening in Korea that you can tell us right now in real time?
Well, Korea is a very interesting market, and they had like a huge fallback at the moment with Luna because it was a Korean company. They also had like a lot of fallback with Kakao and like Clayton and all. There was a lot of things that left scars in Web3 in Korea. But again, it's such a huge, promising market to start with, because they have a huge user base that is very interesting in Web3. And what we have noticed when being in Korea like last year is that a lot of projects and enterprises, they want to know more about Web3, but they are all waiting for that one thing, that one proof of concept, that one thing that shows the power that Web3 can bring into their business as well. And historically seeing between Korea and Japan, Korea really looks up to Japan in the sense that what's coming out of Japan is a quality product. It's not something cheap, underdeveloped thing. So, and this is where Astar gets a lot of traction because they see how we are doing in Japan. They see what we are talking, the partnerships that we have there. They trust us in the sense that what you guys are building and what you guys are providing for Web3, we see this as a quality product and we want to have quality inside of Korea. And this is why we are focusing on Korea. We recently built out a team as well on the ground in Korea. It consists out of 2 agencies as well as 4 people who are working full-time inside the foundation, focusing only on Korea, or Korean market, Korean users. And it's the first phase that we are doing now, it's getting the brand recognition, in the sense that the moment you see a brand, they know, oh, it's a Japanese company. They are doing Web3. They are doing something innovative. They are looking into the Korean market, not only to get into the user base, but we are also talking with Buzal, who's now created the Buzal blockchain alliance. We are talking with Incheon, who also wants to be the Web3 hub in Korea. We are talking very closely with that city as well, giving them advisory, giving them how we did it in Japan, how it can be possible as well in Korea, opening up as well to the connections that we are getting like established now to get as well a foothold into the government system as well, to see how we can support there as well. So there's a lot of things going on. So choosing Korea for us makes a lot of sense because it's already very tied to Japan and it already opens more doors for us than going to an unknown territory, which has no connection. That's why we chose.
Right. And it's very interesting what you said about the history that has happened in the blockchain space in Korea. There's been some controversial and arguably failed companies that have emerged in the past. And given that you already have that track record in Japan, the successful alliances and connections with the government, the pro-compliant approach you're taking, that should arguably put you in very good stead in Korea. And also because of that reciprocal sort of interests, common cultural sort of practices, business interests, and the list goes on between Korea and Japan. The transition into the business enterprise frame should be arguably smoother for you as a network and as a foundation than any other blockchain initiative or company, because you've already got that track record. So it's going to be exciting to see how that evolves into 2024 for you. And I'm looking forward to having conversations in the future if you're willing to unpack and explore the growth in that time. But I wanted to ask you, Maarten, about VCs and funds, because when I had a look at the list, And I know some of them personally. It's a long list of initial supporters of Astar. So the thing I wanted to ask you was what's happening now with those parties like Binance Labs, Coinbase Ventures, Skytail, sorry, Fenbushi, DFG, and the list goes on and on. People can go and check that. I'll put it in the links below if they'd like, with regard to access to understand those initial supporters. But it's always important to know they are continuing their support. So what's really going on? Are they continuing to offer resources, support, connections, etc., as Astar builds, or have some just left the party with full bags to move on to other networks and other projects?
It's always a good question. I think it's not a common secret to say that some VCs already sold and left. I think it's part of their business to do. For us, it was part of our business to get this funding, to get things moving on. But I can't say, like, let's say 60% of that list, we are still working very closely with them. We are part of their connections. They bring us leads. They give us as well advice. We do have every 6 months a VC call where we invite them to talk about the latest updates. Having like an open mic session where they give us feedback about what we can do better or how they see current trends popping in and how we can as well tap into this. We still work very closely with Binance as well regarding the new features or new things popping up there. We are still like in talk with most of the people like Scythiel. They are very supportive, very helpful. They even supported some of the projects who are in our ecosystem and still heavily put a lot of effort into those projects. So we have a lot of trust from them. Same with TRG, DFG. Those kind of VCs really help us a lot, and they constantly invite us. We have at events conversations offline. They give us advice. We also share insights to them, and we know that they still hold the majority of what.
That's what I did want to ask you, and that's provable on the blockchain, even if it's not known publicly that you can check that. Now, with regard to the regulatory landscape, I did want to touch on that briefly. How confident are you in that utility terminology? You know, when we discuss token, we know there's a lot of controversy right now globally, especially in the US, with regard to certain tokens being securities or being deemed that in the very nebulous landscape that we see emerge now. But one would argue that Astar has done a lot of work, especially at the regional level in the narrative you were discussing. So with regard to compliance, with regard to regulation, how confident are you that you are representing a digital asset that is for its utility purpose, is going to be regarded as the leading example of an asset that's compliant and is going to be adopted through legal channels?
Very confident in this. Why I'm very confident is one thing, as you mentioned in the beginning of this talk. We are approved by the Japanese government, and they have done due diligence on what we have been doing with our token, and they really did a proper research about what we are doing, and we got that green check mark, like, okay, this is something that can be traded in Japan. And how it's going in the US, I think everybody is a little bit upset about how it's going in the US, because there's no clear thing that people can trust on at this stage. So it's very difficult to see. But having this check mark in Japan gives us trust that we are compliant. We are there as well with our assets. So you can trust this kind of asset because it's secured by our Japanese government. So why shouldn't it be secured by the US government? So we are working on this, but it's not enough focus at this stage. We are focusing on it for the next couple of years later on in our roadmap. But it's very important. But I'm also very confident in our asset to be.
Well, let's hope in the future that when there's a framework in the US, that more of that clarity can come forth for Astar. In the meantime, you're doing the due diligence and doing the work at the grassroots with the right parties, and that's the government in Japan. What about the GitHub? in terms of growth, if we want to explore that, developers like yourself with your experience want to see provably that the tech stack's growing, can they do that? Is there documentation to assert the growth? And are there growing toolkits and tools, in the Astar network that we can start to explore?
You can always go to our website, Astar.network. You will see a link directly to our GitHub repo where you can check all the comments, all the PRs, everything as well related. I know that we are approaching the end of the year, so in Q1 there will most likely as well be the report of Electro Capital regarding the crypto scene and so on. We are also part of this. They are currently as well making the report of Astar on the developer side, on everything as well in this. We recently had as well last year on Masari. So there is data available on people to check. And I would say wait for those support or check it out yourself on our GitHub and see how actively our developers are working there. Everything is open, everything is open source, so check it out.
Well, I'll put the description or the link rather below for the website. So thank you for referencing that. Now, with regard to marketing, because that's a key part of your role as head of the Astar Foundation, what's happening specifically in that context? And also with regard to the token, we can't obviously state that there's a correlation between the token and marketing. That is not arguably appropriate to go and directly align token price, for example, with marketing endeavor. But what I did want to ask you is, what is the marketing plan and what is the agenda of marketing in the way that Astar and the Astar Foundation approaches this? Is it a tech-first approach, or do they consider the token's utility in the context of marketing? How do you approach it?
Oh, it's always difficult with marketing. A lot of people are saying, "Why don't you market this or why don't you market that?" It's finding the right balance and also knowing what you can say from the foundation and what you can't say. For instance, we can't say, let's say, airdrop, or we can't say like or heavily put marketing on an LP pool with 100x percentages on it.
Right.
We can't do this. It's not possible for us to do. But what we do with our marketing is, first of all, try to make sure that our messaging is put out in the correct way, making sure our narrative is also clear for the people as well, and try to educate them about what we are doing. So as you can see on our website as well, in our marketing team as well, every 2 weeks we put out a Japanese Web3 roundup, meaning that everything that's happening in Japan regarding Web3, we make like an article, a blog post about this and share this with people who are interested in this. We will do this as well, the same with Korea. At the same time, also try to get educated things out there, like what's the difference with that Zk EVM and optimistic wallet? What's the difference there? It's not targeting us particularly, but it's giving the people a chance to understand the difference and making them. And we have a lot of marketing plans ahead of us. It's campaign project based that we have set out. Always finding the best balance. So sometimes we have to say no to certain requests because it's not legally possible for us to do.
Right.
But that doesn't mean we don't support the projects. But, yeah.
Right. What about agencies? We're seeing currently in OpenGov, I'm often discussing with key stakeholders trying to organically build the OpenGov marketing endeavor. One of the telegrams is called .ami, which you may have heard of. We see a lot of robust discussions there. What's happening in Astar, particularly in the foundation, trying to acknowledge this kind of movement right now in real time in the broader context of Polkadot? And how could perhaps Astar benefit from that, where agencies are part of that discussion? Would that be something that you explore, provided that they're compliant, that there's transparency, and you are vetting the right kind of marketing parties? And would it be something you consider in the future to better spread the word of Astar according to the standard and the reputation that you uphold?
Yeah, so regarding agencies within the Astar Foundation, we are working as well with agencies. And in the sense that we are working with a Japanese PR agency, we are working with a global agency, PR agency as well.
Okay.
To answer to your question, it's something that you need to be on top of them, you need to be on top of it as well. because if something needs to change, they can change it. And they have the power, or they can change it very fast. They make sure by working with them, we always give them peer reviewing of our articles, making sure that they also don't want to harm their reputation as well. So our requests they should meet, and they know what we expect from them. We know what we can say, what we can't say. So they always try to give us the best advice. I think it's key to have like some kind of agency working for you, in the sense that you have your marketing team, yes, but that marketing team that you have is mainly focusing on your product. It's mainly focusing on creating like a long-term marketing plan, making sure everything is like correctly. But this PR agency helps you get you on those news websites, gets you on that. So you don't need to worry about, you don't need to have like a one-on-one relationship with every website. You have a one-on-one relationship with your PR agency, and they have that one-on-one relationship with those partners. So try to make it yourself easy as well. Like having a good PR agency costs you the same as having one full-time member of marketing. And they wouldn't cover all those aspects that they are doing, or don't have the connections that they have. So make it yourself easy and work with them. But to say this as well, you need to be on top of that. You need to have like a close connection, regular calls, regular updates, making sure they understand your new narrative, making sure they understand your new feature, making sure they understand your new tech stack. If you do this on, let's say, this agency on OpenGov that's saying that we want to help you guys, then always my question is, but who will be following up on that they are doing the right thing, or understanding what they are selling? If they are just selling based on ChatGPT outcome, or they are just selling based on what others write, without having the understanding of the people who actually are building it, then there can be some kind of disconnect.
Yeah, right. And that's where
sell differently.
And that's where your qualifications and your experience comes in, because as head of the Astar Foundation, one of your key roles is to basically vet or to oversee the marketing and the PR aspects, as well as many other parts of the work you do. And perhaps that's something that you could provide input when you do engage, if you ever do, in that sort of marketing initiative we see emerge through OpenGov right now, because that is great advice, I think, coming from you. Now, with regard to Astar 2.0 or 2.0, I wanted to ask you directly what that means to you, because we're seeing that come forth now, the developments of Astar evolving into something more. So coming into 2.24, what does that mean to you in a nutshell? Astar 2.0.
Astar 2.0. In a nutshell, I see this a much better entry, or this breaking down the entry barriers into Web3. I see our Astar 2.0 as the one, like a better tokenomics, a better staking mechanism, a better tech stack, a better use cases as well of products, making it what we already have built up for the last couple of 3 years. We have the knowledge, we have the new technology there, so we will improve everything into making it even better than it was before. We had the trust in, let's say, Astar 1.0, and making it better with 2.0 will give like again more trust to not only our already established community, but new users coming in as well.
Right, and we're seeing that. And we're seeing that breakdown, sorry to interrupt, but we're seeing that with the key developments and key projects and plans, things like the Star Map, with the ZK EVM, the Japan Labs initiative, and even Build to Learn. There's so many provable initiatives that you built in to prove this Astar 2.0 plan. But what about ways to take part, to get involved as an educator? And also your experience in the developing side of things, how can people directly get involved with Astar, or indirectly, whether it be from a user standpoint, staker standpoint, either it's a collator or even developer? What would you advise someone do if they want to learn more to get involved with Astar? and the Astar Foundation?
So we do have a very extended documentation. This is one thing where you can learn everything. We do have an interesting blog available with all the latest updates. We have an active community on Discord. We have an active ambassador community as well. So what we see is that we see a lot of community members who really have the trust in Astar, seeing them becoming an ambassador. Our ambassadors, they have like a direct connection with the core team. We have like every month a call with all our ambassadors. I'm on that call. Sota's on that call. Our CTO is on that call. Every executive is there to answer questions, to let people see we are here to listen to your feedback. We share our feedback. We share what we will be doing for the next couple of weeks. So they are aware about everything. And I think this is unique, having this direct link with the core team that's building on Astar Network. And if you look into Astar Foundation as well, we have in total 4 team members who started, even including me, started from community and now are core team members. Right. Me started from community, now leading the foundation. We have somebody starting from the community who's now leading our Korean off-site initiatives. We have somebody who is from the community now leading everything regarding the Zk EVM launch campaign. So we value a lot about people who understand us, who share our vision, who are going with us for the long term, and we see them growing, and we see them even onboarded into the foundation. So if you are interested in what Astar is doing, join the community. So much opportunities there in different kind of departments that you said: developer, collator, regular users,
even,
or I don't know. So yeah, everybody's welcome.
Right. Well, thank you for explaining that, because there's a myriad of different ways people can engage, get involved. And you've even mentioned things like the blog and that all important weekly or bi-weekly way of connecting with the broader community, just as the fellowship does with Polkadot, actually. So kudos to you for making that time and engaging with perhaps the most important constituents and members of the community, that is the retailers, the participants, the users. Now, in the future, the big announcements coming, you've already mentioned and alluded to the big layer 2 Ethereum connections, Polygon, you've mentioned that. Big things coming for 2024. You don't want to tell us everything, but I hear the potential for big announcements, big partnerships, big company connections. So what's coming? What can you give us that's a bit of a carrot beyond what you've said? Let's break it down. Let's break down some of these NDAs and tell us a bit more about how Astar and Japan collectively plan to embrace the Web3 technology, and give us a hint of what we can expect for the exciting times of 2024 Q1.
Regarding the upcoming announcement that we will be throwing out in the next couple of months, what I really want to put here, or put my finger on, is that I do understand a lot of users or a lot of community members or a lot of eyes looking at the whole space. We do value a lot about any announcement that we make. We are not doing an announcement if we are not 100% sure or committed to achieve this as well. We can say a name, but if you don't see anything for the couple of years, what is even the case of saying that name now? And this is something that we are holding now back on as well with our marketing. Let's market when first we have a very deep partnership, a very deep collaboration. We have an idea, we have a product being built out. We know what's coming, and we have a certain deadline and timeline set. And then we can do like an announcement for something big that is coming up after both parties agreed on. So knowing when we do like an announcement, we still need to prove it, but Astar Foundation, Astar Network will do its absolutely best to make sure this announcement will be something that
is meaningful,
will go out as well.
And we really appreciate that,
yes.
Because obviously, Maarten, you've been involved in the time when we saw FOMO as the sort of word of the day or the practice of the day. We saw that as the objective of many marketers as well. And it was just a tired narrative, to be honest, over the years that it happened, because it was more about price appreciation. It was more to excite the masses. And I really do appreciate sincerely the approach you're taking, which is the tech and the proof first in terms of the real deal partnerships for real world purposes, in the context of enterprise, business, development, all of those things that you've alluded to in this long discussion today. So Maarten, is there anything that you feel we should just raise with regard to anything maybe missed in the interview that you feel is very important to let everyone know? Is there a specific point or a specific thing that you want to add in that really showcases the benefits of Astar or Astar Foundation? I don't want to miss anything. So here's your opportunity to take the floor and offer a comment as the head of the Astar Foundation.
I think this interview itself, I agree. It's a long interview, but I think most of the things are covered. I think I try to express worries that are or were in communities of for people, that make sure that those worries are maybe lift off, or at least give you again some trust in what we are doing. I know as well that I'm always very, I know myself, I'm very open to do any discussions or do any AMAs, or to showcase that what I'm saying can be backed by certain things. So if you still feel that something is like still not clear, or if something is still, I don't know, let me know, and I will show you with proof and with actually data that this is something that, or on our way to our vision, it's needed to do to meet our long-term goals, or it's something that I can show you with trust that this is not just a false thing that I'm saying. I'm always very careful about what I say. I don't say things that I can't say, but when I say something, it's something that I really mean, and it's something that I really are standing behind of. And this is something from the history as being a teacher. It doesn't make sense to say something that is not true, because it will be a shame if you learn something that is incorrect. So I hope I did my best to give you as much information as possible, to give you some more trust or give you more knowledge about what we are doing, and know that we are here for the long term. We have long-term goals. Astar Network is here to achieve those goals, or at least try dying to achieve those goals. But we are not here to give up, or not here to bail on certain people or communities. So we
Absolutely.
are here for the long run.
And thank you for that final comment. We do appreciate your transparency. We appreciate your time. This has been a lengthy interview where you really have survived the grill. We're not here to shill, we're here to educate the people. And as a fellow educator, I do sincerely appreciate your efforts to help us unpack and explore all the growth, all of the developments, all of the initiatives that have been built into both the foundation and Astar Network itself. Enterprise is clearly something that's moving forward and accelerating, with very exciting movements both in the regions of Japan and Korea. And you've alluded to other things happening globally in the future with the long-term plan that you all have as combined teams. As the head of the Astar Foundation, thank you once again for your time, Maarten. It's been a really insightful interview, and hopefully we can catch up again in 2024 to explore some of the growth, some of the developments that will eventuate clearly as you continue to build for the long term. And I wish you all the very best in the future. And thank you once again for answering what was hopefully a very objective interview provided for the community on behalf of Astar and the Astar Foundation.
Thanks for having me, Brad. It was an honor being here. So thank you.
Likewise. Thank you again, Maarten, and hopefully we'll catch up very soon.